The Overwhelmed Brain is brought to you by expensive recording equipment and an awesome radio voice. Every Sunday. Are you annoyed by affirmations? Are you even more annoyed by those that believe you should think positively? Save the trauma for your mama. So what if you had it bad in childhood? So did I. One time when I was 6, the neighbor kid came up to me and told me that his dad was stronger than my dad. I got so depressed and scared that my dad was a loser, so I asked my parents if we could move away from this awful place, and he said, "Sure, son, anything you want." And by the next week, we were living on a beach in Maui. Wait, your parents moved because you were afraid of the neighbor kid at 6 years old? A kid who told you his dad was stronger than yours? Yes, I know. Isn't it terrible? 6-year-old kids shouldn't be exposed to those kind of horrors. And being forced from our homes because of a 6-year-old is just awful. I've since learned to think positively. Whenever someone gives you trouble, all you have to do is move to a moderately priced home on the ocean in Maui, and all your problems will go away. You really have no clue, do you? I don't, it's true. I have no clue how to stop the atrocities of 6-year-olds. If affirmations feel like lies and positive thinking feels like denial, then get ready to start creating the life you've always wanted now. Hello, this is Paul Coliani, host of The Overwhelmed Brain and your personal empowerment coach. And this is the personal growth show for the critical thinker. On every episode, we'll talk about practical, down-to-earth steps to help you improve your mood and keep you sane in this powerful journey we call life. I want to help you bridge the gap between your emotions and reason, causing you to discover why you do the things you do and what you can do to reach higher levels of happiness and lower levels of stress and overwhelm. And if you're here to learn more common sense tips for improving your life, turn that dial right now, because this is the direct path to uncommon sense, and that's why it's going to help you learn, heal, grow, and evolve. And if you haven't noticed, that probably gives away my age when I say turn the dial. I don't know about you, but driving cars in the 80s, we had dials, and we had to turn the dial. I think radios have dials too nowadays, but everyone's listening on their phones or on their computers where there's no dials, there's just buttons or touch screens, or maybe they're using their tablets or their iPads or whatever. But I just realized that when I say turn the dial, that's such an old reference. Turn the dial. It's like those old rotary telephones. When you dialed a number, if you were dialing like long distance and you missed one number, you had to dial the whole thing again because there's no redial button. Well, that's what I love about today's technology, because there is redialing and there is replaying and there is fast forward. And well, I guess there was fast forward back then too, but in the digital age, you can fast forward 10 minutes really quick. But in the analog age with old tape players, you had to fast forward and rewind and wait and wait. And you know, back then was a little bit more easygoing times as far as technology is concerned. When you were waiting for your VHS tape to rewind, you just waited. You don't rewind DVDs, but back in the day, we had to rewind tapes to get back to the beginning of a movie, or fast forward to parts that we really wanted to see. But today you don't really do that unless you're working with old analog tapes. If it's in your job or you have an old tape player, then you just wait. But since the digital technology boom, we don't have to wait so much. In fact, some people probably fast forward through the intros to their podcasts or even their audiobooks just to get to the meat, because they can't wait. They can't tolerate waiting. They'd have no patience. Patience has been thrown out the window so they can get to something faster. We microwave popcorn to make it fast. And what's funny is that we hardly use, in fact, probably never. It's rare that we use the microwave in our house because I really like the taste of the way food is prepared on a stove or in an oven. And for example, popcorn, I've learned to make some pretty darn delicious popcorn by buying the kernels in a grocery store and taking some coconut oil, putting it in a pan, and then putting the kernels in that pan and then just popping. And it comes out delicious. So there's the recipe of the week. All right, I'm totally going off on a tangent here. So let's get back to what I want to talk about in this first segment, which is something a TOB patron member brought up, which is secrets. And she's like, I want you to, maybe you could talk about secrets. And she gave me a clip to, I think, an NPR program that talked about secrets and why we keep secrets and what secrets we have and things like that. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I was thinking, what do I know about secrets? And what about secrets would be interesting enough to talk about? And the only thing that came to mind was probably a secret that I had to keep back in 2009. I remember my wife and I were living in Texas, and one of my family members called out of the blue. I forget why I was talking to her, and we were having a great conversation, and suddenly she dropped a bomb on me. And I was like, what? And she told me something about another family member that I didn't know that happened a long time ago, and I was in shock. And I couldn't believe what I just heard. And then she told me, I need you to keep it a secret. And I was like, keep that a secret? How am I supposed to keep that a secret from other members of the family? This is like mind-blowing. This is shocking. You have to share this. You have to tell people. And she's like, no, I'm not ready. And I was thinking, oh my God, now I have to keep this secret. How am I going to do this? Other members of my family need to know this. How am I going to do this? And I can't even share with you the secret, so I can only let you guess at what it might be. But other members of the family should have known this, because by knowing it, it could protect them. It could help them make decisions that might be related to what happened. Like I said, I can't share with you exactly what happened, but let me at least liken it to something else that you might know of. You remember Bernie Madoff, right? If you don't, he was the guy who swindled, billions out of investors because he claimed to know what to invest in, and he was really running a Ponzi scheme. People would call him up because they heard someone else invested with him and made a lot of money, so they would call him up and give him their money, and then he would invest that money, quote, invest that money into really nothing. What he was doing was taking other people's money, and then he would take someone else's money and give it back to the last guy who gave him money. And so he kept giving these people bigger returns, along the way keeping some for himself as well. But all he was doing was continuing to collect money from people, making it look like he was investing it in companies. It was a huge, huge scam. He was a billionaire because he made all this money by being a fraud, and he eventually went to prison for it. So I'm comparing this secret to that. Like, the secret was pretty much that big, but at a family level, not in a global level. Now, the secret didn't have to do with money, but it was like, one of my family members came up to me and said, hey, our Uncle Bernie is taking money from people and giving it to other people, making them think they're making money on an investment. And I'd be like, what? What? He's doing that? That's awful. He's got to get caught. No, he's found a way to do it, but don't tell anyone. And now I have this huge secret that he's making billions off of other people by being a fraud. Again, this is not the secret. And I don't know Bernie Madoff personally. And the secret I was told has nothing to do with money. But it gives you the idea of the type of secret that you can be almost burdened with. Like, how could you not tell someone else about this giant secret? How can you hold on to it? Well, anyway, my family member called me out of the blue in 2009 and told me this secret. And it was awful. It was a devastating secret. I didn't know it happened. And I started to cry. And then I composed myself, and I asked her if she needed help with this, and she said she was fine, but she wasn't ready to tell anyone else. So she told me, and I'm honored that she told me, absolutely. And I kept her secret. And even to this day, I've kept that secret. And it was hard. It was really hard because there were people that I believed should know. So where do you go when you have a secret that you just absolutely know someone else needs to know? It's kind of like when you know that your best friend cheated on his wife, and you know his wife really well, and you're good friends. Do you tell her that he cheated? Or, what do you do with that kind of information? I don't really have a good answer for that, except that sometimes you have to do what's best for everyone. And sometimes you go with your loyalty to the person who told you the secret. Or sometimes you give it all away. I don't know. There's really no good answer that I can think of. Here's what I would do today. If somebody came up to me and told me a secret, and I'll use that example. Hey, nobody knows this, but I cheated on my wife. And he was my best friend. The first thing I would say is, what the hell is your problem? You've got a great marriage. Why are you cheating on your wife? What are you doing? And then I would ask, well, does she know? Did you have a fight? And if he said, no, we're getting along great, but temptation kicked in and I had to cheat. And if the wife was a friend of mine as well, I would ask, why did you tell me this? I can't lie to your wife. You may be able to, but I can't. And then he might say, you have to. I made a mistake and I'm going to tell her, but I'm just not ready to right now. And then I'd be like, you got to tell her now. You better tell her right now. You better go home and tell her, because I'm not going to be able to face her holding this secret. And if he said, please do what I told you because I trusted you. And then I'd be caught with a dilemma. I'd be between someone that I feel trusted by, his wife, and also someone who did a betrayal to that person who also trusts me. What do I do? What can I do? What would you do? I think the first thing that comes to my mind is, you have a week to tell her. Otherwise, I'm going to. And if he says, no, you can't do that, I trusted you, then I might have to reconsider what kind of friend would put me on the spot to be a liar for him. What kind of friend would put me on the spot to deceive other people for him? I would have some serious scruples with it. I would have a moral issue with it, an ethics issue with it. And it would be a crossing of my boundaries. Now, I would be lenient in a week so that he could gather his bearings and figure out what he's going to do next. Is he going to leave his wife? Is he going to tell his wife? I would give him some time to do that, but I would absolutely have a deadline. You need to tell her by this date, or I will. He would probably get mad at me. I might even lose this friendship. I don't know. But when someone entrusts you with a secret that involves you deceiving someone else, is that right? Does that make you a different person than you want to be? Should you be responsible for a secret like that? Now, in my case, a family member told me a secret that she didn't want me to tell any other family member. So I didn't, because it was something that she had to bear the burden of. But I also bared the burden of a secret like that because now there are other people involved in this secret that also might be affected because of what she told me. The person she told me about did some bad things, and that person was still in the family. And now I have this secret that this person is in the family and has done bad things way in the past, and I don't know if this person will do bad things again. So what do I do with that information? So again, I held on to that secret, but kept a careful eye on the person that she was talking about, just to make sure that person was not acting that way anymore. I'm so sorry I'm ambiguous here. I wish I could tell you the secret, but this is what it does. This is what secrets do to you, is that you really want to talk about it because you don't want to hold on to it. You feel like it's not yours to hold on to. You feel like you should do the right thing and tell the right people. And so you face the dilemma of holding on to the secret or letting the right people know what that secret is. And I think it's just a matter of choosing your battles. If you really believe someone else is in harm's way, for example, what I said about, say my best friend comes up to me and says, I cheated on my wife. Now his wife might be in harm's way because of, sexually transmitted disease, let alone the lies and the betrayal that will certainly drive a wedge in that marriage, especially if she never finds out and it's going to be something that he hides continually, which will drive a wedge in the background of their marriage, and she won't know what's happening. And of course, the fact that I can't even tell her, and she's a good friend, and that I would share things like that with her otherwise. It's just a mess. So I think my point is that when you are entrusted with a secret, what is best for everyone involved? Even if it costs you friendships, relationships, even if it costs you your integrity. I mean, what is best for everyone involved? And then should you act on it? Again, that's a personal battle. But I think the right question to ask yourself is, if I tell someone else this secret and everything explodes, will it be for the betterment and the greater good for everyone? Again, that doesn't mean you still have to act on it. It's just a moral dilemma that you have to make a choice on. It's a personal choice, and you will likely lose friendships and relationships if you decide to divulge what you're hanging on to. Personally, I chose to keep the relationship that I had with this family member and keep her secret, even though it took every ounce of strength to hold on to it. But I respected her too much. And what happened with her was very personal to her. And I respected that. And I respected that she did not want that information out. So I don't know if this helps you with any type of secret that you're holding on to. I mean, maybe you have a secret about yourself that you don't want to tell anyone. And I'll tell you this, it's okay to have secrets. It's okay to have secrets about yourself. It's okay to have these fetishes, if you have those. It's okay to have fantasies that you want to do something with someone else. As long as they're safe and you're not acting upon things that are going to hurt other people and you're just keeping them to yourself. I mean, some secrets you don't have to, but you know what I'm saying. That's some secrets that you don't want to tell people, like, I really, really like to cover myself with cookies and take a bath. That's not my secret. I'm just making up something. But if you have any type of secret like that, don't be ashamed. Be proud that it's yours. Maybe you don't like something about yourself, and that's a secret. Who cares? It's yours. You don't have to think badly of yourself just because you have these secrets. It's hard to stop imagining things. It's hard to stop fantasizing about things. Even when they're illegal, immoral, sometimes it's hard to stop because those are just fantasies that built up inside of you, probably from a young age, that you've always wanted to experience, but you never will be able to because they might be wrong or illegal or unethical or whatever. But there's nothing wrong with having those fantasies. I know there are some really bad fantasies out there. There are some really negative thought processes that maybe you yourself don't like when you think about them. It's like coming home and you found out that your home got broken into and you wish the guy dead. Whoever did this, I wish him dead. And it's probably not a thought that you'd normally have, but you're so angry in the moment. And so you have this thought. And it's okay to have the thoughts. It's in your mind. You can create any scenario you want. That's your secret. Who cares? As long as you're not acting upon it. And as long as you have other healthy outlets for yourself so that you don't in the future act upon it. This may not be a popular opinion, especially with the deeply religious crowd that says, well, every thought, God knows what you're thinking. God knows this. And, if you have those thoughts and you're unhappy more than you're happy because you have those thoughts, because you think you're sinning or going against God or whatever, then maybe it's time to just let go a little bit and give yourself a break. Because you're human, because your brain is capable of almost any thought imaginable. I mean, think about that. Your brain is capable of almost any thought imaginable. How can you stop it? Sometimes you can't stop thoughts. They just happen. So sometimes you just let them play out, and then you're on to the next thought. But don't be upset with yourself if you ever have thoughts that you, quote, shouldn't have. Those are just your brain acting out scenarios, usually symbolizing something else that's either missing in your life, that you want in your life, an experience that you want to have, or just a feeling that you want to have. A lot of this has to do with, I want to feel a certain way, so I'm going to create this scenario in my mind, and sometimes we feel bad for that scenario that we create. I know there's a lot of interpretation of what I'm saying here, but we all have something that we don't want other people to know. We all carry secrets. We all have a secret fascination with something else. Or many of us have a secret fetish, or maybe you pick your nose when no one's looking and you don't want anybody else to know, or something like that. But it's okay to have this, and I'm just giving you a break if you do have these things. And of course, you need a healthy outlet, because some fantasies you cannot act out upon. Some fantasies you cannot do in the real world. They have to stay in your mind. That doesn't mean you have to go tell everyone what that is just to get it out of your system, unless you feel really guilty about it and you have to talk about your guilt or whatever. But it's okay. But don't put yourself down too much, because, like I said, the brain does things it does, and sometimes it feels like it's out of your control, and it'll happen. So give yourself a break. Anyway, that's my take on secrets. I don't have a lot to say about it, except that I have experienced holding on to a secret that I certainly didn't want to hold on to, but of course I did because of the circumstances and because this family member trusted me to hold on to it. And of course that secret gave me a new perspective of someone else that I didn't have before, which really did help me in the end understand a lot more than I used to understand. So take that as you will. If you have secrets, which I know you do, it's okay to have them. If you're acting out on them and they are hurting other people in certain ways, that's when you need to go, this is not right. Because when you act out on things that are unethical, immoral, if you lie to others, if you cheat or steal, all the, quote, wrong stuff that you can do. If you do any of that stuff, it comes back. It does come back to you. So secrets aren't secrets anymore when you act out on them, because they do end up coming back. People find out in certain ways. And when it's unethical, when it's immoral, you usually pay for it in the end. So just keep that in mind. Let's get to the Ask Paul segment coming up right now. All right, I want to talk to Asha with GetOutOfTheMess.com. She is an independent associate for Legal Shield, and she always answers questions regarding what this service can do for us. And I always ask a question trying to put her on the spot. No, I'm kidding. I like to ask these questions so that we know what the service does for us and how beneficial it is. I mean, I'm hooked on it. I love the ability to be able to call an attorney anytime and not have to pay anything except my low monthly fee of $20 a month. So I'm already sold. But today I want to ask her, just give us a broad overview of how this service works and what the difference is between just going out and hiring your own attorney and using a service like this. Asha, go ahead and enlighten us all.
So lots of times I get phone calls from people who have a specific problem. They've got a problem with their leasing company who's not honoring the lease terms, or they've got a problem with somebody harassing them, or a debt collector who's falsely harassing them, or somebody telling them they owe them money for images. They call me about very specific things. Oh, this happened. Now what am I going to do? And that's all well and good. But really, the bigger picture here is that Legal Shield is a service. It's a legal plan that allows you to make as many phone calls as you want about as many topics as you want for a very low cost of around $20 a month, depending on which state you're in and if you're doing individual or family plan and all that jazz. So what it's giving you is resource to have access to an attorney at any time for anything, they say, whether trivial or traumatic. It doesn't matter if it's tiny, like you're part of some service and you can't get out of it. That happened to me once years ago. They wouldn't stop billing me. But I didn't have Legal Shield at that time. I could have sent them one letter. It was a total pain in my butt. So in any case, this is a service that's ongoing. So you sign up and every month you pay $20 for as long as you have it. And you use it as many times as you want. And we encourage you to do that. And what this does is this also opens up the opportunity for anybody who's looking for a side business or a new full-time business. You can start with Legal Shield for less than $100 and get the materials that you need, business cards, brochures, training, education. And you can also offer this service to others, especially if you've used it and you like it. It is a business opportunity, and we just had somebody join this week. I think he's very excited about it. I'm very happy to help him. We make it simple, we make it easy, and over time you can watch your income grow because it is recurring revenue because people use the program, they love the program, and they stay on it. I've been on it for like 8 years, and I love it. So my person that I signed up with, my associate, has gotten part of my payments for 8 years. So if you're interested in learning more about it as a service, either for yourself or as an opportunity to generate some side income, please contact me at 678-355-8777 or go to getoutofthemess.com and click on the Sell Legal Shield button if you're interested in getting more information about it as a business for yourself.
All right, welcome back. This is the Ask Paul segment. This is where I read a listener email on the air and do my best to help them through their challenges. Here's an email from someone I'll call Jill. Hi, Paul. I just found your show a couple weeks ago, and I can't believe how incredibly insightful and practical your podcasts are. Anyway, on to the questions. I am in my 20s, and I regularly meet with a psychiatrist. He's been great at helping me uncover some things I didn't know were keeping me from moving forward, particularly in relationships with family and potential partners. I have 2 questions/issues that I need your help unraveling. One is, I tend to deal with issues and anxiety by talking with many people, especially people I barely know, and I end up feeling overexposed. However, if I don't tell people about an issue, I feel like I'm suffocating alone. I don't know why I keep doing this, and I feel it's very difficult to stick to confiding in my family and close friends. All right, before I get to your second question, Jill, let's tackle this one. I think it's good to talk with people when you have things going on inside of you. You said when you have issues with anxiety. Now, it really depends on what you're telling people, what you're expressing to people. Because when you have a story and you repeat that story to many different people in a very similar way, that story becomes, I hate to say it, drama. That story defines you as someone who is dramatic. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm saying that it can happen. I'm saying that when you go around and say, oh my God, my flat tire this morning caused me to be late for work and this and that, and my boss was so angry, and then I opened my lunchbox and I had moldy cheese, and I mean that sounds more like drama. Now, if you're sharing like that, if you're going to many people and sharing that way as a story, like, oh, this stuff happened to me, then you won't get far as personal growth and healing. You won't get very far at all because you're not really digging down far enough and sharing what's most vulnerable or scary or what you're afraid of or what you're angry about. When you don't dig down far enough and really connect with what I call your emotional core, where you are most vulnerable and most powerful at the same time, then you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, you're not going to get far, I should say, because you're just repeating sort of a surface level story that you tell everyone. And sometimes we do that in hopes that we get a different perspective. Like, oh, I was late for work and my boss yelled at me. What should I do if my boss yells at me? And if you share that over and over again with people, hoping to get a different perspective. That's okay. But is it helping your emotions? Is it getting you to a stronger place of empowerment inside you? When you don't talk about the deepest level emotions that are going on inside of you, you just don't get far. Let me give you an example. You get a flat tire and you finally fix it, and then you drive into work and your boss yells at you. And when your boss yells at you, you get fearful. Now, there's an emotion. I got scared. Well, why am I scared? This is where you start digging into yourself. Well, I'm scared because my boss could fire me. I'm scared because if my boss fires me, then I'll have no money. If I have no money, I won't be able to pay my bills. I won't be able to feed my kids. I won't be able to buy gas to get to work. I mean, there's all kinds of things that might happen. This is where I tell people to go into the drill down process, which is digging in deeper and deeper into how it's bad that something is happening. So how is it bad that you get fired because you're late for work? Well, how it's bad is I'll have no money. All right, how is that bad that you'll have no money? Well, if I have no money, I won't be able to buy food. Well, how is that bad that you can't buy food? And then you're like, what? I have to buy food to eat. Yeah, but how is it bad? Well, I might go hungry. I might starve. And then you have to ask the logical question. Do you really think you'd starve? Oh, no, I guess family would help. But, I'd still be broke, and then I'd lose my house and I'd lose my car. All right, how is that bad? You lose your house and you lose your car. Well, now I'm maybe living with family or even on the street. Well, how is that bad? And you could keep digging, and eventually you're going to come up with what I call a primal fear of some sort. It's a very, very deep primal level of where your fear comes from, where your sadness comes from, where anything negative that you might feel comes from. And this primal fear that comes up for you is really what needs to be expressed. A lot of the times we don't express that because we don't know it exists. We just tell our story. We just say, oh, I got this flat tire and I was late for work and my boss yelled at me. And then we're like, what the hell am I supposed to do? My boss yelled at me. What am I supposed to do? We're not even addressing the emotions in it. And if the emotion's anger, that's a good one to address. Okay, I'm angry. Well, why are you angry? Because he shouldn't be yelling at me. He should understand that I got a flat tire and this is just going to happen. So then how is that bad that he yells at you? Well, it's bad. And then you start thinking about all the reasons it's bad and you start drilling down like I just said. But when you're telling people, when you feel overexposed, I do believe you're trying to get it out of your system. I do believe you're trying to express this like I've taught in many episodes. Because when you express, you release. But the expression has to be at a deeper level. It has to connect from this top surface level story to that primal fear way underneath the surface. Primal fears come from that vulnerable place, that emotional core. But a lot of the times we don't visit that place because we don't want to open the door to that emotional place inside of us. We don't want to feel the fear or the anger or the sadness. We don't want to expose ourselves that way. I'm pretty much sure that you're not getting to that place. If you are sharing with that many people and you're not getting anywhere and you feel overexposed, you're likely not getting to that emotional place. However, if you are sharing that, if you are getting that deep and you're still having an issue, then the issue you're having is what needs addressing. And what I mean by that is you feel overexposed. So maybe you need to talk about feeling overexposed. Now, I don't recommend you just talk with strangers about that because a lot of people aren't going to understand. A lot of people aren't ready to hear some of the deep stuff. If you're one of those people that aren't ready to hear some deep stuff, you may want to tune out now. Because I talk about the deep stuff here. But you get the point. Some people might be too sensitive to it, or some people just can't handle it in themselves, let alone someone else. So talking to strangers isn't necessarily the best way to go about it, unless they're trained, they're a therapist or a coach. That might be a good way to do it, because some people are safe to talk to, and that's great, because when you can access that emotional core, then you can release a lot of stuff. But maybe you need to talk about the feeling of being overexposed. Maybe you need to talk about how you feel like you're suffocating when you're alone. Maybe that's what you need to talk about. It's very likely that you're not addressing the real issues. And that's one thing I teach with anxiety, is that when the anxiety comes up, address the anxiety in the moment with someone else. It's very helpful if you do that. Like, oh God, I'm feeling anxious. Let me go up to this person. It's very helpful if you know them, because otherwise they might think you're weird. But you can tell them, I'm feeling anxious, and they'll go, what's wrong? What's wrong? I don't know. I'm just feeling this anxiety come up, and I don't know why I'm nervous. And just talking about it is very helpful. And then you can even drill down, or if they're skilled at communication, they can help you drill down. Well, what's going on? Why are you nervous? And hopefully they say, well, how is that bad to be nervous? Or maybe not. It's hard to find someone that might just jump into that line of questioning, but you get the idea. It's just to address what's happening in the moment, instead of trying to find a path that you think will help. Like sometimes you tell a story and you think it's going to help you if you tell the right story. But just address what's going on in the moment as it happens. If you feel like you're suffocating, just talk about it. I feel like I'm suffocating. Well, why do you feel like you're suffocating? I don't know. And that's when you have to drill into that. So the last thing about this question is that you don't know why you keep doing this, in the sense that you don't know why you tell many people, and you find it difficult to stick to confiding in your family and close friends. Well, why is that? Is there a safety concern where you don't feel safe with your family and friends? Or are you just one of those analytical people that want to hear from as many people as possible to get their perspective? And if that's the case, again, are you digging deep enough inside your emotional well to let some of those emotions come to the surface? I mean, sometimes we can tell our story over and over again, and we can fill it with all these emotions that we're feeling, but there could be another layer below that. Like, what's beneath what you're saying? What emotions are beneath what you're saying? What fears do you have below or beneath what you're saying? Sometimes you just need to address those. Sometimes just addressing those with someone that you feel safe with helps release them. So I hope that answers your question number 1. Let's take a break and go on to your question number 2 right after this. All right, if you haven't heard about the TOB Patron Program, let me just share with you what that is. There's a special members-only website where I record private episodes regarding some of the stuff that I don't even talk about on this show. So if you're interested in those private episodes, you can access them through the Patron Program. But not only that, I'm creating more worksheets and more ebooks and things that I'm adding to the Patron site as we speak for Patron members to download for free. It's all included in the cost of being a patron, which is very, very low. I'm talking about anywhere from $3 to $29 a month, depending on what you're looking for. But I just finished creating this worksheet that I've been working on a while on emotional triggers. I don't know if you have emotional triggers, but I had to deal with many of them for many years. And it caused a lot of problems. It really destroyed a lot of my relationships. So I came to a place inside of me with emotional triggers and created some techniques that really helped me get through my own emotional triggers. And some of these are brain twisters too. Sometimes that's what's needed to kind of shock your system to get out of an emotional trigger. So I finally finished this emotional triggers workbook, and it is now on the Patron site for patron members to download. So if you're a patron member, thank you for joining, and I hope you get a lot from that worksheet, and I want to hear your feedback so I can continue improving upon that. But the Patron program is much more than that. It's not only private episodes and worksheets and books, but it's also group coaching. In fact, just a few days ago, we had a great group call on anxiety. We had anxiety coach Kelly Walker on, and we had a great time. I mean, it isn't just listen to this lecture. It's interactive. Members were able to get their questions answered and talk about times when they were anxious and what they can do in the future to prevent it. And it was a really, really good time, and I'm so glad Kelly joined us. And I'm going to have more coaches and more specialty group coaching episodes like that. So that is the platinum version of the patron program for, I think it's $29 a month. It's not as much as I charge for one-on-one coaching, but I don't want to charge a lot. I want you to have access to this stuff. I want you to be able to get what you need no matter what. And there's only so much I can share on the show. I do it from 45 minutes to an hour and a half a week. But in the patron side, I get to share a lot more and cover things that I wouldn't normally cover over here. So if you're interested in the patron program, head over to theoverwhelmedbrain.com/member. You can also go to patron.theoverwhelmedbrain.com and click on join. That's the special website. You'll see the nice beach picture on the front if you want to check it out. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I hope to see you over there. If anything, join the bronze level at $3 a month for the private episodes. Hope to see you on the inside. All right, Jill's question number 2. She says, recent loneliness is an issue, especially after a visit with my family over the holidays. I came home feeling totally depressed and empty. I almost feel like my tolerance for being alone is even lower the more time I spend with others. Tonight, for the first time ever, I drank wine alone, and I got close to drunk by myself. I'm a lightweight, so it doesn't take much. How is it possible that I can be vulnerable frequently with so many people and share a great weekend with family and still feel the need to medicate this hollow feeling inside of me? I don't want to veer into addiction or dependence territory. Please let me know if you have any insight into this. Okay, thanks so much, Jill. That's tough. I get it. Loneliness comes from a place of not being able to connect. Either you're not wanting to connect or you're trying and you can't connect. But how do you connect is the question. Do you connect to people by showing them a side of you that you want them to see? Or do you connect with them by showing them your authentic self, no matter what the consequences? Now, this is big because if you can get to a place of pure authentic self, where you can be yourself without fear, you will bond and connect with people like never before, if you want. Because being so open allows them to connect with you from their authentic place too. If you're trying to connect with inauthentic people, and you're also inauthentic, you're going to feel hollow. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel like there is nothing in the relationship that you have with them. So the way to get beyond that is to start being your true self. If that means you've always wanted a tattoo on your forehead, I hope not. But you've thought about it for 20 years and you're like, I'm going to go get this damn tattoo. Then that's who you are, and you step into it. That's probably a terrible example. Don't get a tattoo on your forehead. But you know what I'm saying, is that there's things that you want to do in your life that maybe you think others might judge you for. And when you have those thoughts of feeling judged or feeling looked down upon, then you don't show up as your true self. You don't show up in true form. And it's so important that you show up in true form. Otherwise, people will never know the real you. So my question to you is, who do you want to be with these people? If you knew there were absolutely no consequences to being yourself, who would you be? And could you show up as that person? Because if you can show up as the person that you want to be, you're going to create strong ties. And you'll also create strong aversions. And being your true authentic self is that some people are going to not like you being yourself, and some people are going to love you being yourself. But if you're somewhere in the middle where you don't show up as your true self, where you're not saying what's really on your mind, where maybe you're getting walked on, or maybe you're a people pleaser, when you're somewhere in that space, then nobody ever knows the real you. And you're going to have inauthentic, very shallow relationships. That's unfortunate. I hope you're not there, but maybe you are. Maybe some part of you is afraid to show herself. It's sort of like the way I was most of my life. I showed up as the person that I wanted others to see. I showed up looking good in their eyes, according to my own interpretation of what good is. I showed up hoping they would see me as more than I was. In other words, I was showing them a side that I believed that they would prefer. And that is so, I'm going to say it, that's so wrong. You should not show up as anything more than you are. Just show up as you are, because you're already great in so many ways. It's just that we have these preconceived notions about ourselves that if we're not a certain way, then this person won't like us. If we like motorcycles, then this person won't like us. If I like heavy metal music, then this person won't like us. We have all these notions that people will look down on us because of something about us that we ourselves aren't comfortable with. We ourselves aren't comfortable embracing. And when you have something inside of you that you're uncomfortable embracing about you, that creates shallow relationships because you're not showing up as yourself. You know what I mean, right? It's sort of like the family who's homophobic and the son is gay. But the son chooses not to show up as himself, as proud to be gay and proud to be the way he is. He hasn't learned to embrace it enough in himself to show up as that person because he knows he'll be judged or looked down upon. And he never gives his family a chance to judge him. And that's a big one. I know it is. You have to give people a chance to judge you. And they're either going to fail or they're going to succeed. That's probably not the best way to put it, but you get the idea. People are going to look at you and go, wow, I can't have you in my life. Or, wow, I can accept that about you. Or, wow, I love you for being authentic. There's all kinds of responses you'll get. But you have to know what the response is. You can't avoid their judgment. You have to walk into their judgment. Judgment's a heavy word. It's a hard word. It's something that most of us don't want to face. But when we do, then everything's on the table. Meaning, now we have all the data we need to know which people we can connect with at an intimate level and which people we can't. And which people will always have judgments against us because of their own issues. You know why people judge, right? Because they have their own issues. It has nothing to do with you. They have their own issues. And you can find something to judge about every single person in the world. But when you have issues with particular things, like I hate red hair. I'm making this up. I don't hate red hair. But let's just say I hate red hair. I hate red-haired people. And you see a redhead and you're like, oh, I hate that redhead. This is a judgment that comes out of you that is a problem with you. Not because they have red hair. It's not their problem. They have red hair. They may have been born with it. They may have dyed it, whatever. But there are going to be people that don't like red hair. That's a minor example. A major example might be the one I just used. Oh, you're gay? Oh, well, I don't want that in my life. And then they'll judge you for it. If you're gay, you're going to meet people that judge you for it. And I'll tell you what, you'll probably meet gay people, bisexuals, that judge heterosexuals for being heterosexual and not being open enough. I don't know. But the whole idea is that you can find something to judge about anyone. And because of that, a lot of people fear being themselves. I don't want you to fear being yourself. This show is all about empowerment. It's all about honoring yourself. If you can walk into the world and honor yourself to the fullest, knowing that people are going to look up to you and down at you, then you are powerful. You are. Even the people that look down at you have to respect you at some deeper subconscious level because you're showing up as you. That's pretty cool. They may not know it, and they may even feel more anger or hatred or whatever's going on inside of them because of something they're uncomfortable embracing in themselves, because of something they haven't healed from yet. All judgment comes from a lack of healing in oneself. So if you find yourself judging other people. There's something that maybe needs healing inside of you. If they're judging you, it's all about them, not about you. If you walk in the room and you're wearing one pink shoe and one blue shoe and somebody goes, "You look ridiculous with those shoes," that's their problem. It really is. So I don't have enough information about you, Jill, to make a very detailed observation, but what I'm saying is where I want you to go. There's probably something deep inside you that you really haven't connected with yet and embraced about yourself. Because usually the fastest path to feeling alone is when you're afraid to show up as the person that you really are, that person that you really need to embrace in yourself. Now, if it's not that, write me back and tell me. Or reach out to me for coaching. Maybe we can talk through this and figure out where the problem is, where the challenge lies, and where we can go to get you into a better place. So just to finish your second question, you asked, how is it possible I can be vulnerable frequently with so many people and still feel the need to medicate this hollow feeling inside of me? I used to be that way too. I used to believe I was being vulnerable with people. But what I found out about myself is that I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't really connecting with those primal fears, with those very deep layers of the emotional onion. When you start to dig further and drill down into what else is in there, you discover things about yourself that maybe you haven't addressed yet. I mean, I held on to hatred for my stepfather for 35 years. I didn't even know hatred was in me. I didn't even know I was capable of hating. That's how buried it was. I don't hate anyone. I love everyone. And I went around, I don't know, in peace and got along with everyone. But I had hatred inside of me. Where did that come from? So my question is, what do you have at a deeper level that maybe you haven't addressed yet? Because once you do, once that comes out and you're able to heal from it, all this alone feeling, it changes, it transforms. Like I felt so alone that I could never be without a companion of some sort. I always had to have a girlfriend. And I did that all the way up until I got divorced. I was always with someone, all the way up until my divorce, when I finally broke out of this pattern and said, whoa, I've never been alone. How come I've never been alone? Because I was afraid to be alone, because I wanted to be happy, and I believed that happiness came from being with someone you love and sharing your life. And for the first time ever in my life, after I got divorced, I finally made the decision that, you know what? I want to be single. I want to find out who I am without someone else in my life. I want to find out what decisions I make when no one else is there to influence me, good or bad. But it took some healing to get to that point. It took some realizations inside of me that being alone just exposed something that I needed to heal from. When I felt sad to be alone, shows that I have something to heal inside of me. Because this is what happens, is once you start healing from some of the deepest layers, from some of those primal concerns or fears inside of you, then you don't feel alone anymore. You feel freed. You feel like you can connect with people at a deeper level. You feel confident in yourself. You actually like being with yourself, and you don't mind being alone. And when that happens, people gravitate towards you. People sense that you're confident in yourself, that you're comfortable in your own skin. Boy, when that happens, when you feel comfortable in your own skin and you're comfortable being alone, you're not alone. People like that energy about you, and they're attracted to you. But when you still feel that lonely feeling, then there's definitely more to dig into, and there's more to discover about yourself. And I'm not saying it'll be easy. It might be a challenge, and it might take some hard truths and discoveries that you may not want to face. And if that's the case, find someone to help you, or do some meditation, or just really dig in with someone that you feel safe and start considering that there might be even more that you haven't expressed yet to other people. So I hope this helps you out, Jill. Thank you so much for writing, and thank you for your comments on the show. And I want you to live an empowered life. So if you have any more questions, go ahead and reach out to me again. If you want to coach with me and get through some more of this, we can do that too. I'm very good at digging. but I want the best for you. Thanks so much again. Take care. And thank you for listening to the show. I appreciate you tuning in. We're about to end this episode, so let's get to the transition music. I'll say my last thoughts, and then we'll end the show, and then we can all go off and have a great day. Be right back. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Overwhelmed Brain. I want to thank Asha with GetOutOfTheMess.com. I am so grateful for Asha because she introduced me to this service, and I have been hooked ever since. I carry this little card on my keychain, and it has my member number, and at any time I can just call them and ask them any question that comes to mind. That is peace of mind. I am hooked. So for just $20 a month, contact Asha with Get Out of the Mess, and she'll connect you with the freedom to be comfortable no matter what life sends your way. If you're in the U.S. or Canada, visit GetOutOfTheMess.com or call her at 678-355-8777. And are you a TOB patron yet? If not, then you're probably missing some of the best stuff. Private episodes, worksheets that you won't find on the website, and group coaching where you can just ask questions or simply listen and learn. Visit theoverwhelmedbrain.com/member and become a TOB patron today. It's a few dollars a month, but I promise to deliver 10 times that amount. theoverwhelmedbrain.com/member. And whether you're a patron or not, I want to thank you if you've purchased one of my books or worksheets or used the Amazon link on the website. The Amazon link is the easiest way to give back, so if you've been listening to months or even years, use that Amazon link every time you shop. Yes, your shopping habits make a huge difference. Go to theoverwhelmedbrain.com and click on the Amazon link and shop today. It helps the show. Thank you so much for doing that. And finally, thank you to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com for some of the music transitions in The Overwhelmed Brain. And to close the show, what did we talk about today? We talked about secrets. We talked about some of the primal fears that we have buried deep within us, that emotional core where we're most vulnerable and most powerful at the same time. We talked about things that we hold on to sometimes very tightly. Sometimes we do have to hold on to secrets tightly. But why do we hold on to some of our authenticity, some of our authentic emotions so tightly? Why don't we want to show our authentic self to the world? You know, we're so autonomous nowadays that we think that we have to keep that autonomy by not showing the world who we really are. We get in our car by ourselves. We drive by ourselves. We're by ourselves a lot. At least some of us are. And the more we're by ourselves, the more we get used to not expressing our true selves to others. We have this whole world in our head, and we carry this world everywhere we go, and we don't show everyone our true self. And when we do that, we develop these wedges between us and the world. So the more we are alone, and the more we decide not to show the world our true self, our independent authenticity, our genuineness, then the more that divide between us and the rest of the world gets bigger and bigger. And we will feel alone. But then there's the opposite, where we're with many people, and we still feel alone. And that's the same reason. We're not connecting with that authentic self inside of us, maybe because we don't want to be judged or looked down upon or whatever. And when you carry that around, not wanting to be judged, what you end up doing is being the most critical, harsh judge of yourself. And you don't embrace what's inside of you. Even if it's a secret that you're carrying around that you don't want anyone to know about you. It's okay to have these secrets, and it's okay not to share everything with other people. But sometimes you hold on to things that don't need to be held on to, and people don't know the real you. Like, for example, I spent most of my life afraid to speak up to my boss. I figured it's my boss, I'll get fired, best not to speak up, best not to tell him the truth. Well, that kept me where I was, that kept me from getting what I wanted at work, feeling the way I wanted to feel at work. That kept me from a lot of things. It kept me from connecting with my boss on a personal level because I didn't want to upset him. And then the day I decided to speak up, I was suddenly connecting at a whole new level. He didn't fire me. Oh my God. He gave me a raise. Oh my God. So there's things that come out of being authentic. But it could have gone the opposite way too. It could have gone the way of, what? You spoke up to me? You told your truth? You're fired. But I was willing to accept that because it needed to come out of me. Sometimes your truth needs to come out of you. Sometimes when you're hanging on to something, you do feel like you're distanced from other people. And sometimes it needs to come out. Will being authentic please everyone? No, it's not supposed to. It's supposed to be something that you embrace about yourself and let the rest of the world think what they may. And you'll develop so much more powerful bonds with people. And you'll also develop some powerful aversions from other people. But almost everyone can't not respect someone who's authentic. You disagree with me, and this is why? Well, at least you're authentic. At least you're telling your truth. How can I hold that against you? Some people will, but that's just how it goes. So I highly recommend that you keep an open mind and step into your power and be firm in your decisions and actions so that you can create the life you want. Always take steps to grow and evolve. You are powerful beyond measure. And above all, and this is something I absolutely know to be true about you, you are amazing.